I'm Gord Esau, a second-generation chicken farmer from Chilliwack, British Columbia. On behalf of the Poultry Association, we'd like to give you a brief glimpse of the poultry industry here.
My name is Ray Nicol. I'm president of the BC Poultry Association. The BC Poultry Association is made up of the 5 feather groups within the Fraser Valley. It's the chicken, turkey, eggs, hatching eggs, and the Specialty Bird Association. The groups come together as a joint association group and are interested in promoting issues and concerns that would be of common to those 5 groups. One of the priorities is the biosecurity programming that we're putting into place. That's coming out of the 2004 avian influenza crisis, and the producers are going to be working through a workbook such as this, and this is going to help them to identify areas on their operations that they can put more emphasis on enhanced biosecurity measures, as well as putting into place standards that will be mandatory and that will be enforceable, like gates at the entrances, change of clothes between farmers moving in and out of their barns, log books which identify what sort of people, visitors, employees have come on and off of the farm. One of the second priorities for the association has been the Environmental Farm Protection Program. It's a national program, and BC has embraced the program. The poultry farmers have moved ahead and have been putting together environmental farm practices following, again, a workbook like this. An example of an environmental farm planning initiative on farm is manure management, and producers are looking at ways to store the manure for longer term fashion. There is some funding available for them to do those sorts of things, and it's a good land stewardship type practice.
I'm Angela McKee with the BC Broiler Hatch and Egg Commission, and I work there as an inspector of breeder farms for BC. As an inspector, it's important that I visit poultry farms once a year to ensure that they're adhering to all the biosecurity standards that we've set in place. Producers, generally speaking, do adhere to them on a regular basis, and if needed, I'll visit more than once a year to make sure the standards are being met. My first precaution is to put on boots before I step out of the vehicle on a farm. And then I have to progress to the clean department of my vehicle. And here I get my coveralls and hairnet and gloves and hand sanitizer if I need it. So these are all new materials, and I have the bag for disposal after. So I'm fully suited up to cover my regular clothing to make sure that I'm not carrying any viruses or bacteria onto the farm when I go into the barns. I also disinfect my hands or use gloves, whatever the choice is, but disinfectant will kill most germs and bacteria. And then the last thing that I'll put on is a hairnet to make sure that my hair doesn't become a vector for transmission. And that's it. We're off to the barn to see the birds or the producer. Biosecurity is important for BC poultry flocks, probably more now after having outbreaks. And the reason it's important is we're protecting the flocks on various farms, breeders, broilers, layers, against disease, bacteria, anything that we could potentially bring onto the farm with our feet and our vehicles. The standards in place are put in place to ensure that the product we deliver to the shelves of the grocery store are safe and ready and easy to eat.
Our first stop is a breeder farm where we'll meet Calvin Brookelman.
Well, my name is Calvin Brookelman, and I'm president of the BC Broiler Hatching Egg Producers Association. And our association represents 58 producers in British Columbia. And our association works on behalf of our producers on pan-agri issues in agriculture, and specifically hatching eggs in the British Columbia poultry industry. And issues such as environment, biosecurity, we do research on various things specific to hatching eggs, and there's food safety issues that we deal with as well. So there's many different things that we represent our producers on. So in a typical broiler breeder operation, you start out with day-old chicks, and which are from what we call grandparent flocks. And grandparent flocks, the eggs are supplied out of the US and are trucked over here, and they're incubated at our local hatcheries. And the day-old chicks are called pullets and cockerels. So we have about 10% cockerels, and those are the males. And the females are called the pullets. And so when they're hatched, they come to what they call a pullet farm. And from there, they're raised on the pullet farm for a period of anywhere from between 16 and 20 weeks. And during that time, that's when they're vaccinated for all the vaccines that they'll need for protection against different diseases throughout their laying production life. So at 20 weeks, then they're moved into what we call the lay houses. And on this farm here is when they're moved in to the lay barns is at 20 weeks of age. And from there, they are kind of what we call in the pre-lay period, where we're getting them ready for production. And the onset of production starts at 26 weeks of age. So we get a period of 6 weeks where we're basically getting them all ready for production, and the body weights and so on have to be in line, and so that they're mature enough. The hens are mature enough to actually produce fertilized eggs. And likewise, the males also have to be sexually mature enough so that they can actually do the breeding by the time they get to be 26 weeks of age. And then by 26 weeks is the onset of production. And the first eggs are generally quite small, so they're usually the first 2 to 3 eggs from each hen, and they go to what we call the breakers, which is they are basically used for processed egg, like liquid egg. And then from there, the eggs are large enough; they need to be a minimum of 52 grams. And from there, they're collected then obviously into trays like these that you see right here in these dollies. And one of these dollies here holds 5,000 eggs, and they're stored in the egg room, and the hatchery comes twice a week to pick up the eggs.
Now we've seen how we get the fertile eggs. Let's go to the hatchery and see what happens there.
My name is Dion Weeb. I'm the owner-operator of Rossdown Farms Hatchery. When a hatchery receives eggs, they are fertilized. They're first stored in the cooler and prepared for transfer into the incubator, which is the first step in the incubation stage. Once the eggs are transferred into the incubator, it's a 17.5-day incubation period. And from the incubation incubator, they are transferred into the hatcher, which is the second stage of the incubation. In the hatcher, the eggs are sitting in baskets where they're prepared to hatch. They're in the hatchers for three days to begin hatching. When the chicks begin to pip, it's 12 to 14 hours, and the chicks have released themselves from the shells, and they begin to dry and gain their fluff, yellow fluff on the chick. After this process, the chicks are taken out of the hatchers, and they are sorted and counted and prepared to be delivered to the farm.
Next, we're off to an egg farm where we'll meet Derek Jansen.
My name is Derek Jansen, and I'm an egg farmer here in the Fraser Valley. I'm also the chair of the British Columbia Egg Producers Association, which is comprised of about 134 egg producers across the province, and we contribute approximately $94 million to the provincial economy as well. We directly employ over 1,000 people. The hens lay the eggs, and from here they're automatically transported from the barn area down the conveyor to a cross conveyor, which brings them into our egg packing area. Now our egg packer automatically packs the eggs into trays, which are then stacked and put on pallets and brought into our egg cooler where we are now. Once the eggs are in here, they're picked up by a truck taking them to our grading station, at which point they're washed, graded, and packed for grocery stores and restaurants and such. On our farm, our flock produces approximately 20,000 eggs per day, which is roughly this amount of eggs in behind me here. These are eggs that we produce on our farm. Some of our other egg producers in British Columbia produce products that are such as these that are vitamin-enriched eggs, free-run eggs, and organic eggs. And further to that, we also produce a liquid egg product that's used primarily for baking. On our farm, we adhere to a strict biosecurity protocol, which includes changing of clothes as well as boots, using a hand sanitizer on our hands, and wearing a hairnet when in the barn. Within our egg industry, manure is handled in a variety of different ways. Some of it is spread on the land by producers. Other manure is handled by the Sustainable Poultry Group, which takes it off the aquifer in Abbotsford and moves it up to the interior of British Columbia. The manure from our operation is taken to a composting facility near Hope that converts it into a mushroom compost where mushrooms are grown in.
Where do all these chicks go? Let's go to a broiler farm and meet Rick Thiessen.
My name is Rick Thiessen. I'm president of the British Columbia Chicken Growers Association. Our association represents approximately 325 chicken producers in the province of BC. Our industry's total farm gate sales on an annual basis is approximately $245 million. We employ 2,700 people directly and many more indirectly. Our farm operates on an 8-week cycle, with our birds coming when they're 1 day old. We keep them for approximately 40 to 42 days of age, at which time they weigh approximately 5¼ to 5½ pounds live weight. Then we have 2 weeks in between for cleaning, disinfecting, and getting ready for the next flock, and then we start all over again. So a total of 6½ times a year. Our industry takes biosecurity very seriously. We have yellow signs posted at the entry gates to all of our farms and to most of our barns. It just makes the general public aware of the biosecurity in effect on all farms. And in order to promote a safe and healthy product for the consumer, it's essential that everyone in our industry cooperates.
As a chicken producer, I raise the birds, but it's also important to me that it makes it into the marketplace. In years gone by, we used to get them as a whole bird in the supermarket. But over the years, they've developed many new, innovative ways of marketing our chicken. You can get a tray with just the wings or thighs, or maybe you prefer the chicken breast. We can have specialty birds, halal or kosher. We have the little Cornish hen. Maybe for the busy housewife, chicken cutlets would be more in order, or chicken burgers. Why not try chicken souvlaki on your barbecue? Our next stop is a duck and goose farm, where we'll meet Ken Falk.
My name is Ken Falk, and I'm the president of Fraser Valley Duck and Goose and also the president of the BC Specialty Birds Association. Our association was formed just after the first outbreak of avian influenza in the Fraser Valley here. And we've got together, I guess, about probably 40% of the commercial specialty growers in the province of BC at this point, and we're a growing organization. We represent to growers of ducks, as you see behind you, and also of geese. We represent some growers of pheasants and squab and pigeons. We've got several small pens of breeders, and these are the breeders that produce the eggs that go into our incubators for hatching to produce the meat birds. We also produce, from the excess eggs that we produce, we also set eggs for balut. That's an Asian delicacy it's a 17-day incubated duck egg. From this farm, in Abbotsford, the eggs are taken to our Yarrow operation, and that's where the hatchery is. They're set in the hatchery, and it takes 28 days to incubate a duck egg. And at that point, they're hatched, and they're distributed to the various meat bird growing farms. And they'll spend about 44 to 49 days there, and at that point, they go to the abattoir.
Ever wonder where your Christmas turkey comes from? Let's go ask Patrick Eustace.
My name is Patrick Eustace, and I'm president of the BC Turkey Association. We have 49 registered commercial growers, 1 turkey breeding farm, and we have a handful of grower vendors, as well as 1 certified organic vendor. The BC turkey industry accounts for $34 million directly in 2005 from farm gate sales, as well as 300 direct jobs and many indirect jobs. These young ladies here were hatched 2 days ago, and